There exists a silence older than time, a sacred hum carried through the fabric of the universe, waiting to be remembered. This audiobook is a portal into that silence. It invites you to journey beyond recorded history, into the forgotten lineage of vibrational wisdom that dates back 300,000 years. At the heart of this journey lies the ancestral book of Pythagoras, not just the philosopher, but the eternal consciousness he embodied. This is not mathematics as you've known it. This is sound, number, geometry, and vibration, as divine expressions of healing. Through the unfolding of this sacred book, you will rediscover ancient frequencies that resonate within your cells, activate your energetic memory, and reawaken your natural power to heal. Every emotion has a frequency, every thought a vibration, every human being a symphony waiting to be tuned. This is not about learning something new. It's about remembering what your soul never forgot. The teachings that once shaped civilizations now call to you. Let this be your return to harmony. Let this be your awakening. The ancestral book is opening, and its wisdom, long veiled in silence, is ready to speak through you. Page 1. In the stillness between breaths, in the quiet before thought, there lies a memory. Not of this life, but of lifetimes before time had a name. A memory not held in the mind, but in the rhythm of your blood, in the sacred hum of your heartbeat. It is from this timeless place that the ancestral book begins to open, not in ink, not on paper, but in frequency, in vibration, in energy. Long before languages shaped words, long before civilizations rose and fell, the earth was already singing. Its song was mathematics, its pulse was geometry, and those who listened, truly listened, heard not merely sound, but truth. Pythagoras, as history knows him, was not the originator, but a vessel. He was one of many through whom this timeless knowledge flowed. His name became a symbol, but the wisdom he carried was far older, echoing through sacred schools hidden deep within the earth, passed by whispers, symbols, and resonance. This audiobook is a journey into that resonance, into the space where frequencies are teachers and silence is scripture. You are not here to decode this book, you are here to remember it, because part of you already knows. The numbers are alive inside you. The harmonics of healing already stir within your cells, ready to reawaken. You may feel it even now, that subtle vibration rising in your chest, that tingling in your skin as if something ancient is stirring. Don't dismiss it. That's the door. That's the page turning. Each sound you hear in this journey will carry more than meaning. It will carry memory. Not of who you've been, but of who you've always been. The teachings in this ancestral manuscript are not linear. They are not steps to follow or formulas to memorize. They are vibrations that meet you where you are, and if you let them, they will gently pull you into harmony, into wholeness, into remembrance. Imagine for a moment that sound was the first language. Before breath, before thought, before even light, there was vibration. It shaped galaxies, carved rivers through planets, and seeded the infinite variations of life. Vibration was, and still is, the architect of reality. This is the essence of what the ancients understood, and what Pythagoras, in his many incarnations across time, came to embody. That all life is music, and we are instruments tuned either to dissonance or harmony. You were never separate from this music. But the modern world, loud and fragmented, made you forget. Your body began to move out of tune. Your emotions grew noisy. Your thoughts sped up and lost rhythm. But even in this chaos, the original tone remains, deep in the marrow of your being, waiting to be heard again. The ancestral book doesn't teach in the conventional sense. It reminds. Each chapter is a return to vibrational clarity, where you no longer try to heal through force, but through realignment. Healing, in this context, is not an act. It is a frequency, one that you must allow, not pursue. When you are aligned with this frequency, your cells remember their original blueprint. Your heart reclaims its natural rhythm. Your mind becomes still enough to receive. This process is not about doing more. It is about becoming quieter, more attuned, more aware. The book opens only when you are still enough to hear what never stopped speaking. That voice within you, subtle, ancient, and patient, is not your imagination. It is your inheritance. It is the echo of a truth older than time, humming softly in the silence between your thoughts. Let this not be merely a listening experience. Let it be a ritual, a return. When you listen, listen with your whole body. Let the words move through your spine like forgotten melodies. Let your breath slow to match the pulse of the earth beneath you. With each word, each pause, allow yourself to fall deeper into the frequency of who you truly are. A being of harmony, birthed from sound, returning to the vibration of healing. There was a time, long before the stars above bore names, before the earth wore cities like armor, when beings walked in complete resonance with the cosmos. They did not speak to communicate, they vibrated. Their intentions were music, their presence a symphony. These were the first keepers of the book, guardians of the ancient tones that shaped reality. You are their descendant, not in blood, but in frequency. The codes are within you. They may lie dormant, but they have never been broken. They are waiting to be sung again through your being. The resonance of healing is not something external you must find. It is something internal you must allow to rise. Many have looked to knowledge as salvation, information, technique, logic. But wisdom does not live in the mind alone. True wisdom resonates. It transforms not because it convinces, but because it vibrates truth. That is what this audiobook offers you, a retuning. As you continue to listen, you may notice a subtle sense of alignment returning. Thoughts may slow, emotions may soften, memories may rise not as pain, but as frequencies seeking release. Don't resist them. These frequencies have waited lifetimes to be felt fully, to be acknowledged, not with analysis, but with presence. Healing occurs when the vibrations within you, even those that once felt heavy, blocked, or painful, are brought into the great orchestration of your being. Harmony is not perfection. Harmony is permission. To be whole, you must allow each part of you to sing its note until the dissonance fades and the original tone, your soul tone, emerges once again. In the Pythagorean mystery schools, students were taught not merely through instruction, but through resonance. They would sit in silence for hours, sometimes days, absorbing the geometry of music, the equations of nature, the harmonic laws of the universe. They understood that a note struck with purity could change a life, that a tone sustained with presence could restore memory. These weren't metaphors. These were laws, sacred, vibrational, eternal. And now, these laws are returning to you, not from outside, but from the inside out. They are written in your bones, whispered in your breath, embedded in the pattern of your heartbeat. The ancestral book is not something you will finish. It is something you will become. To truly awaken the healing vibration within, you must first unlearn the language of separation. The modern mind has been trained to dissect, to divide, to label. But healing, real, lasting healing, happens not in the realm of definitions, but in the space beyond them. It is not something you understand. It is something you feel reawakening in your core, like a chord long muted, beginning to vibrate again with quiet power. The frequencies of this ancient book were encoded not to be read, but to be received. Not in the way you receive information, but in the way you receive sunlight, effortlessly, fully, silently transforming every cell it touches. This is the moment when the ancient and the present converge inside you, right now, in this stillness, in this breath. As we close this first chapter of your journey, recognize this. The book is not outside of you. You are not merely reading it. You are remembering it, reactivating it, becoming it. You are the page, the tone, the equation. And as you begin to vibrate in harmony with your true nature, you begin to heal not just yourself, but the collective memory of humanity. Because when one soul remembers, all others begin to resonate with the possibility of remembering too. This is why you were called to this journey, not by chance, not by curiosity, but by alignment. Something inside you has always known there is more. And now, layer by layer, that more begins to reveal itself, not through effort, but through vibration, through trust, through presence. Let every word from here forward be not just heard, but felt. Let your body become the tuning fork of ancient wisdom. Let your breath become the bridge between worlds. And as the next pages unfold, let them unfold within you. Now that the first chords of remembrance have been struck within you, it's time to move beyond awakening and into application, to understand how frequency shapes form and how your personal vibration becomes the blueprint for your lived reality. In page 2, we will explore the sacred geometry of healing and the Pythagorean truths hidden within every breath you take. Page 2. The ancient initiates of Pythagoras knew that vibration was not merely a consequence of movement. It was the source of all matter. Every shape, every color, every atom you see is the result of a frequency crystallized into form. This is the heart of sacred geometry, the unseen made visible through resonance. It is why the ancients revered symbols like the triangle, the circle, the spiral, not as decorations, but as blueprints of divine intelligence made audible and visible. When you gaze into nature, you are seeing the geometry of sound made physical. The swirl of a galaxy, the spiral of a shell, the unfurling of a fern, all obey the same ancient ratios. They are not random. They are music made matter. And you, too, are shaped by this symphony. Your body is not just flesh and bone. It is a vibrational architecture, responding every moment to the frequencies you allow in. Thoughts, emotions, environments, intentions. This is the power that was known by those who kept the book. They understood that to heal, one must return to resonance, not just with the universe, but with the divine pattern that lives within. In Pythagorean wisdom, the number was sacred. The monad, the dyad, the triad, each number a note, each sequence a chord. It was not about mathematics as a calculation, but as a map to wholeness. When you chant a mantra, feel emotion, or even speak your truth, you are creating vibrations. These vibrations don't end at your lips. They move outward into the quantum field, shaping your experience of reality. They also move inward, aligning or disrupting the crystalline structure of your being. And here lies the forgotten truth. You are not simply a recipient of vibration. You are a generator. You are the tuning fork, the instrument and the music all at once. What you choose to hold within, anger or peace, chaos or stillness, becomes the tone that life uses to compose your story. The ancestral book does not demand belief. It invites embodiment. You do not need to understand every symbol or decipher every number. You only need to feel when something resonates as true. Because when truth vibrates through your being, healing begins without effort. It is a remembering, a returning, a quiet homecoming to the sound of your original self. The soul does not speak in words, it speaks in symbols, in tones, in pulses of knowing that arrive before thought. This is why the ancients entrusted geometry as the language of the divine, because it bypasses the intellect and enters directly into resonance with the essence. Sacred geometry was not studied, it was felt. It opened something in the observer, a memory, a clarity, a vibration of order within the seeming chaos of the world. And within your own body, this geometry is alive. Your heart does not beat at random. It follows patterns. Your cells divide in spirals. Your brain waves oscillate in frequencies that correspond to the harmonic ratios found in nature. The golden mean, the Fibonacci sequence, the circle's perfection. These are not coincidences. They are the fingerprint of a conscious, vibrational intelligence. And when you begin to align your inner state with this sacred rhythm, you begin to heal not by force, but by design. Pythagoras taught that healing comes from harmony, that dis-ease is a form of inner dissonance, a note that has fallen out of the greater chord. This idea is not poetic. It is literal. Everything in your life is frequency, the health of your body, the clarity of your thoughts, the flow of your emotions. Even your sense of purpose, all of it vibrates, and when the vibration is off, you feel it. Fatigue, anxiety, confusion, pain, not as punishment, but as guidance. The body is always trying to bring you back to resonance, but how do you return? The answer lies not in doing more, but in becoming more still. Healing begins the moment you become quiet enough to hear your soul's tone again. Not the tone of your conditioned mind or your fears or your striving, but the original vibration that came with you into this life. It is always there, like a steady note beneath the noise. And the ancestral book is a guide to help you find that note again. As you listen to this, observe what stirs in you, not intellectually but physically. Do you feel warmth in your chest, tingling in your spine, stillness in your breath? These are signs of resonance. And resonance is the beginning of restoration. It is the universe's way of telling you you are on the right frequency. There is a sound that does not need to be spoken to be heard. A vibration so pure, so eternal, that it underlies all existence. And that sound is silence, not the absence of noise, but the presence of deep, vibrating stillness. The keepers of the ancestral book understood this, that true healing begins not in more information, but in surrendering to the quiet within. They would sit in stone temples tuned to the earth's frequency. Entire chambers were constructed with geometrical precision, designed not just to inspire awe, but to echo resonance. In those spaces, words became unnecessary. The walls themselves hummed with intelligence, and those who entered did not just learn, they remembered. You don't need a temple of stone to access this. Your own body is a sacred chamber. Your breath is the tuning fork. Your heartbeat is the metronome of the soul. When you begin to listen, truly listen, without trying to interpret or control, you unlock something ancient. You shift from mental noise to energetic coherence. You start to tune. Intention is the first note. Before any sound, before any movement, there must be alignment within. Not just wishing, not just thinking positively, but feeling the frequency of what you wish to become. The universe does not respond to words, it responds to vibration. And vibration is governed by what you believe, deeply and unconsciously. If you believe healing is hard, the vibration you emit will match that belief, and your reality will echo it back. If you believe you are broken, that signal will shape your experience. But when you begin to shift that tone, not by forcing, but by inviting a different frequency, your field responds. Slowly, gently, you recalibrate. And this is not imagination. It is energetic law. This is why sound has been used in every spiritual tradition on earth. The chant of the monk, the hum of the healer, the sacred syllables whispered in prayer. They are not empty rituals. They are technologies of vibration designed to bring you back into coherence, into remembrance, into your true tone. And so, with each moment of listening, ask yourself not what you understand, but what you feel, what moves, what softens. Because that, more than knowledge, is where the transformation begins. You are not a passive receiver of reality. You are a transmitter, a tuning instrument, a living equation in motion. And as you walk deeper into the frequencies of the ancestral book, you will begin to sense that reality does not happen to you. It happens through you. The more attuned you become to your own vibrational field, the more clearly you will see that life reflects not your desires, but your dominant tone. This is why healing is not linear. It is harmonic. One shift in frequency can realign an entire system. One deep moment of presence can silence years of inner noise. The ancient mystics knew this. That is why they focused not on changing the outer world first, but on transforming the inner resonance. Because when your field changes, your world follows. Do not rush this process. True healing is not dramatic. It is subtle, sacred, and deeply intimate. Sometimes the most powerful shifts happen in the quietest moments. A single breath of forgiveness, a single thought allowed to dissolve, a single heartbeat in which you remember who you are. Not what the world has told you to be, but what your vibration already knows you are. In this place of remembrance, the Pythagorean teachings become more than mystical symbols. They become embodied truths. The triangle is no longer just a shape. It is the triad of mind, body, and spirit in alignment. The circle is no longer a figure. It is the infinite nature of your soul. The spiral is not just a pattern. It is the journey you take each time you return to your center, each time you move forward by going inward. This is the great paradox. To ascend, you must descend into the depth of your own silence. To rise, you must first listen, because the voice of healing is not loud. It is not urgent. It is timeless. It has waited patiently for you to slow down, to soften, to feel. And now, as you sit with the resonance of all that has been shared, trust this: you are already tuning. You are already shifting. The frequencies are responding to you. And as we prepare to move into the next phase of the journey, you will begin to explore not only how vibration influences your healing, but how your inner vibration shapes your reality. Because you are not just healing from the past, you are composing the future. Now that your inner chamber is beginning to resonate with ancient clarity, page 3 will guide you into the mysteries of manifestation, revealing how vibrational alignment becomes the architecture of your external life, and how every thought, belief, and emotion writes the music of your reality. Page 3. Creation is not an act reserved for the divine. It is the essence of your being. You were not made to exist passively within the world. You were made to participate in its unfolding. Every thought you entertain, every emotion you sustain, every frequency you embody, these are the instruments through which reality is composed. And once you awaken to this truth, you can never again see yourself as powerless. The ancients did not speak of manifestation as wishful thinking. To them, it was law, sacred, measurable, musical. The same mathematics that constructed a star also shapes the path of your life. The Pythagorean masters knew that when mind, emotion, and vibration aligned, the world would have to respond. Not as a reward, not as magic, but as a law of resonance. What you hold within, you draw without. This is why healing must come first. You cannot create from distortion without multiplying that distortion. But when you begin to vibrate in harmony, not in perfection, but in authenticity, creation becomes effortless. The field begins to respond to your true tone. People, opportunities, clarity, they don't arrive by chance. They are drawn by vibration. They are vibration. And so, we must now ask, what music are you composing with your life? Your current circumstances are not punishments. They are echoes, reflections of past vibrations, of inner tones once held, some conscious, some unconscious. The beauty of this truth is that it means you are not a prisoner of your present. You are its composer. And if the music no longer fits, you can begin to retune the instrument. But remember, vibration doesn't lie. You cannot chant abundance while holding scarcity in your nervous system. You cannot declare love while vibrating fear. The field is honest. It doesn't respond to words, it responds to coherence. And coherence begins in the still space where belief, feeling, and frequency align. This is where the ancestral book becomes a guide, not just to healing, but to transformation. Within its vibrational teachings lies a roadmap for creation, not from force, but from frequency. Not by chasing what you want, but by becoming what you seek. The first step in true manifestation is not asking, it is attuning, not to desire, but to the frequency behind it. What you long for, peace, love, abundance, purpose, these are not objects to chase. They are frequencies to match, and once matched, they no longer feel distant. They become natural, magnetic, inevitable. You must understand this with your whole being. You are already manifesting constantly. The question is not if you are manifesting, it is what you are manifesting. Every belief you hold, every emotion you feed, every word you speak sends a signal. That signal enters the quantum field, and like a sacred echo, it returns in form. This is not philosophy, it is physics. It is music, it is law. Pythagoras taught that the universe is not made of matter, but of numbers, and numbers are vibration given shape. So when you think, you are vibrating. When you feel, you are vibrating. And when those vibrations reach coherence, when thought, feeling, and action harmonize, you create with precision. You become the tuning fork through which reality takes form. But coherence cannot be faked. You cannot pretend to feel gratitude while internally vibrating with lack. You cannot say, I am ready, while fearing the very thing you ask for. This is why the work of vibrational healing is sacred. Because until you clear the dissonant tones within you, you will only ever manifest more of what you unconsciously carry. So the question becomes, what are you willing to release in order to receive? The universe is generous. Not in a way that responds to begging or striving, but in a way that mirrors your inner frequency with exactness. And here lies the power and responsibility of your journey. To vibrate in the direction of your highest self is to invite that reality forward. To harmonize with truth is to become undeniable. Let go of timelines. Let go of the urge to control how it will unfold. Instead, focus on the frequency. That is your only task. Become the emotion you wish to feel. Speak only from the reality you are ready to receive. Think in alignment with what you are becoming, not what you fear. Because the field doesn't respond to time, it responds to tone. And when you finally hold the frequency of what you once chased, you no longer have to chase. It begins to arrive. Real manifestation begins in the space where identity dissolves. Not who you think you are, but the raw vibration beneath all the names, roles, and memories. This is where the alchemy begins. When you stop trying to become something and instead return to the harmonic truth of who you've always been, the field recognizes you, not as someone asking, but as someone transmitting. The ancients were never obsessed with possessions. They sought alignment because they knew when one aligns with truth, all else aligns around it. Prosperity, peace, love, these were not rewards. They were consequences of coherence. They knew the formula: vibration, coherence, manifestation. What stands in the way of this is not your lack of ability, but your unconscious loyalty to dissonant frequencies. Inherited beliefs, unprocessed emotions, stories of unworthiness whispered through generations. These are the false tones you've been tuned to, and the work of vibrational healing is to hear them clearly, without judgment, and gently retune. You must understand, Energy obeys intention, but only when that intention is free from contradiction. A fearful request will always vibrate louder than hopeful words. So before asking for anything, ask, do I vibrate with what I seek, or do I vibrate with the fear of its absence? When the answer becomes clear, don't fight what arises. Feel it. Let it pass through you like an old song that no longer resonates. The moment you feel it without resistance, it begins to lose its power. This is how you clear your field, not by escaping the lower vibrations, but by allowing them to complete their cycle. Every emotion, even the painful ones, holds a frequency that can be transmuted if honored. This is the alchemy of vibration. Turning fear into awareness, turning pain into clarity, turning confusion into resonance. Each time you choose to stay present with your vibration, rather than reacting from it, you reclaim authorship over your life's music. And from that stillness, new frequencies can rise, higher, cleaner, fuller, tones that match the life your soul came here to live, not borrowed from others, not forced by will, but emerged from within. That is the moment when manifestation ceases to be effort. It becomes a remembering, and what you once thought of as impossible simply arrives, not because you pushed, but because you finally matched it. You came to this life not merely to survive it, but to tune it, to compose each day as a living song, to dance with the frequencies of the unseen, to shape the silence into form through the rhythm of your presence. And now that you are beginning to hear again, not with your ears, but with your soul, it is time to take the next step, to live in resonance, not only in meditation but in motion. This is where the book truly begins to change you. As your inner tone shifts, life begins to respond in kind. Relationships evolve, opportunities emerge, old patterns dissolve. But this is not magic, this is alignment. The energy you hold no longer contradicts the reality you seek, and so it becomes natural, as effortless as breath, for that reality to find you, to recognize you. Because at last, you are no longer pretending to be ready, you are ready. And with this readiness comes responsibility. No longer can you claim ignorance. You know now that every word carries vibration, every choice carries tone, every thought creates resonance. The field listens, and it always reflects you, not the version you show the world, but the version you vibrate from the inside out. So live as a composer, speak as a transmitter, breathe as a being of frequency, knowing that each moment is a new opportunity to retune your field. Not through perfection, but through presence. Not through control, but through awareness. This is what the ancient initiates understood, that the power to heal, to create, to transform, it was never outside of them. It was never held by temples or priests or stars. It was within their vibration. It was in the way they walked, the way they listened, the way they breathed in sacred rhythm with the cosmos. And now, that rhythm is returning to you. Let yourself be moved. Let your field become music. Let your life be a song remembered from long ago, now sung again in full resonance with the universe. You are no longer merely a seeker. You are a sound, a force, a note in the eternal harmony of creation. As the inner tone stabilizes and your field begins to shift, we now move into the alchemy of embodiment. Page 4 will explore how to anchor vibrational truth into everyday actions, decisions, and expressions, turning inner frequency into lived reality. Page 4. To embody vibration is to live in such deep harmony with your inner truth that even your silence speaks it. It is not enough to feel aligned in meditation, only to return to misalignment in action. Embodiment means carrying your resonance into every room, every word, every moment, not as performance, but as presence. This is where the work deepens, because life will offer mirrors. Challenges will arise, not to test you, but to tune you. Each situation that unsettles your tone is not a punishment, but a sacred invitation to refine your frequency. The goal is not perfection. The goal is coherence, where what you feel, believe, speak, and do begin to vibrate in harmony. Pythagoras taught that music was a medicine because it trained the soul to feel its own harmony. He believed that when the mind was confused, the body weakened, or the spirit dimmed, the answer was always the same. Return to the music. Sing. Listen. Breathe in rhythm, because where there is rhythm, there is restoration. And where there is resonance, there is revelation. Your daily life becomes the temple now. Each action a note, each decision a tone. The way you walk into a room, the energy with which you touch another, the thoughts you allow to dwell, these are not small things. They are vibrations shaping your experience. They are the building blocks of your reality. And so, let your body become the altar. Let your breath be prayer. Let your attention be the sacred offering. No need for robes or rituals. Your life is the ritual. Begin with awareness. Feel the tone of your actions. Before you speak, pause. Feel the vibration behind your words. Is it fear? Is it truth? Is it alignment? When you eat, ask, does this nourish my resonance? When you choose how to spend your time, ask, does this expand or dilute my frequency? These questions are not burdens. They are keys. They bring you back into integrity, not moral integrity, but vibrational integrity, where every part of you is pointed in the same direction. This is not a rigid way of living. It is freedom. Because once you learn to stay in tune, you no longer need to force life. You no longer have to chase or grasp or prove. You simply vibrate and let life respond to your music. Embodiment is not measured by how spiritual you appear, but by how deeply your energy moves through the mundane. It is easy to speak of vibration in sacred spaces. It is another thing entirely to carry that frequency through a difficult conversation, through fatigue, through traffic, through loss. This is the true practice. Not escaping the world, but inhabiting it so fully that your presence becomes a blessing wherever you stand. This is the geometry of daily life, a sacred pattern formed not by perfection, but by consistency. When you rise in the morning, how do you greet the day? With gratitude or resistance? That first breath is a tone, and it sets the key for what follows. When you interact with others, do you contract or expand? Do you defend or invite? These small moments are not insignificant. They are your instrument tuning itself, one gesture at a time. The ancients did not separate the spiritual from the practical. They knew that sweeping a floor with reverence, tending a fire with intention, or preparing a meal with love were acts of vibration just as sacred as prayer. Because when intention and attention are united, even the most ordinary becomes divine. And this is your invitation now, to let your life become art, not in the sense of performance, but in the sense of deliberate, conscious beauty. To walk as one who is aware of their tone and who understands that tone shapes worlds. There will be days when you forget, days when you fall out of harmony. Do not shame yourself. Do not judge the static. Simply pause. Return to the breath, to silence, to the frequency beneath the noise. Because you have not lost your vibration, only your connection to it. And reconnection takes only one sincere breath. With practice, this way of being becomes natural. You begin to recognize which people, environments, and habits elevate your tone, and which ones drain or distort it. You stop tolerating dissonance, not from arrogance, but from reverence. Because once you know what true alignment feels like, you will not trade it for the false comfort of fitting in. This is sovereignty, not control over others, but mastery of your own field. And in that field, miracles begin to happen not because you demanded them, but because your frequency has become a match for them. As your frequency stabilizes, your relationships begin to shift. Not always smoothly, not always gently, because when you embody a higher vibration, you become a mirror. Your presence illuminates the dissonance others may be unwilling to see. Some will be drawn to your field like thirsty roots to water. Others may retreat, not because of something you did, but because your frequency speaks a truth they are not yet ready to hear. Do not shrink to make others comfortable. Do not dim your tone to maintain false harmony. The most loving thing you can do is remain in resonance, not to control, not to convince, but to stand in your vibration as an invitation. A silent message. It is safe to rise. It is safe to align. It is safe to remember. True resonance does not demand. It magnetizes. You do not need to beg for love or chase belonging or prove your worth. When your tone is clear, your tribe finds you, not by search, but by synchronization. Souls that are tuned to your frequency will arrive in time, and when they do, the connection will feel effortless, not because it is perfect, but because it is real. Pythagoras taught that music was a form of relationship, notes meeting in harmony, creating beauty through alignment. This is how you must begin to view the people in your life. Not as roles, not as obligations, but as notes in your current composition. Some are meant to stay, some are meant to resolve, and some are meant to pass. Not as failures, but as completed chords in your song of becoming. The more you embody your tone, the less you will tolerate inauthenticity. In others, yes, but especially in yourself. You will feel it immediately when you speak out of alignment, when you say yes from fear, when you stay silent when your soul wants to sing. This sensitivity is not a weakness. It is a gift. It is your inner tuning fork sharpening, guiding you back to coherence with every breath. And so, treat each interaction as a vibrational exchange. Ask not just what was said, but what was felt. Did this moment elevate me or dilute me? Did I bring presence or did I perform? Not to judge, but to become more aware. Because with awareness, you gain the power to retune, to choose again, to live with clarity. This is how the book teaches you to love, not as attachment but as resonance, not as need but as sacred alignment. There comes a moment in the path of embodiment when effort falls away, not because you have stopped acting, but because your actions no longer arise from fear. They come from alignment, from a place within you that no longer negotiates with truth. You move, speak, choose, not to be accepted or successful or loved, but because your vibration simply knows. This is the path of the initiated, the one who lives not by rules, but by rhythm. You no longer ask, what should I do, but what matches my tone? You begin to recognize the frequency of yes and the frequency of no. The body becomes your compass. The energy becomes your language. And life begins to respond with remarkable precision, not because you forced it, but because you tuned to it. Pythagoras once said, "There is geometry in the humming of the strings. There is music in the spacing of the spheres." This was not metaphor. He meant that everything has a structure, a harmony, a vibration. And when you find your note within the cosmic song, you no longer doubt your place in the universe. You become guided not by answers, but by resonance. You stop looking for signs because life itself becomes the sign. A conversation flows and you know it was meant. A door closes and you don't resist. You realign. A thought rises and you listen not just to its content but to its tone. You begin to trust not the world but your vibration within it. This trust is your liberation. Because when you live in resonance, you no longer need guarantees. You know that what is aligned will stay, what is false will fall away, and what is meant for you, that which matches your tone, cannot be missed, not by distance, not by delay, not by distraction. All that is required is your willingness to stay attuned, and so, let each breath be your tuning. Let each moment be your practice. Let each heartbeat remind you, you are vibration, You are not a seeker of healing. You are the frequency through which healing moves. You are not a beggar of reality. You are its composer. You are not becoming something greater. You are remembering what has always been within you, now vibrating back into clarity. Now that your embodiment has begun to shape your daily frequency, page 5 will guide you into the quantum field of possibility, where thought, emotion, and energy converge to co-create realities beyond logic and into the infinite. Page 5. To enter the quantum field is not to escape this world. It is to see it as it truly is, fluid, responsive, alive. The quantum is not far away. It is here now beneath the illusion of solidity. Your thoughts are not invisible whispers, they are energetic commands. Your feelings are not fleeting moods, they are magnetic signatures. And your vibration, that subtle hum beneath all that you are, is the architect. In this field, reality does not unfold by chance. It crystallizes around coherence. What you see as real is simply vibration made dense, shaped by the emotional tones you hold over time. This is not a philosophy, this is physics. And Pythagoras, long before quantum theory had language, understood that the universe was sound and form, frequency and pattern, a dance between energy and geometry. Now, you are learning to dance again. As you enter this field consciously, you must release the outdated idea that manifestation is effort. In the quantum, nothing is achieved through strain. Everything is aligned through frequency. There is no hierarchy of outcomes here. To manifest a peaceful breath or a loving relationship requires the same principle. Match the vibration and the field responds. You begin to live less by cause and effect, and more by resonance and reflection. You no longer ask, "How can I get this?" but "What must I become to be in harmony with this?" You stop chasing and start tuning. The shift is subtle, but seismic. One releases control, the other activates power. And so the question arises, what frequencies are you currently transmitting into this infinite field? Not just through words, but through feeling, expectation, belief. Are you emitting the vibration of trust or tension, of surrender or scarcity, of clarity or confusion? The quantum does not respond to the story you tell, it responds to the tone beneath it, and it listens perfectly. This is not to make you fear your thoughts, it is to make you revere your presence. Every moment is a chance to align more deeply. Every breath is a reset. The field does not punish or reward, it mirrors. And when you realize this, you stop negotiating with the outside world. You begin to curate your inner one. Because the outer world is just an echo, the quantum field is pure potential, an ocean of unshaped reality waiting for a signal strong enough, coherent enough to take form. Your vibration is that signal, not your desire alone, not your words alone, but the felt frequency of your being. That's what the field responds to, not what you want, but what you are. This is why the ancients placed so much emphasis on internal mastery before external command. They knew that a mind full of noise cannot shape stillness, that a heart vibrating with doubt cannot summon clarity. The book does not teach how to control reality. It teaches how to become clear enough, steady enough, true enough, that reality rearranges itself around your resonance. To do this, you must begin to feel the subtle difference between wanting and knowing. Wanting vibrates with lack. Knowing vibrates with certainty. Wanting says, "I hope it will come." Knowing says, "It's already here. I'm just tuning into it." This is not denial, it's recognition. You are not trying to get from the quantum, you are trying to align with what is already possible. Imagine your desired reality like a radio station already broadcasting. It exists. It has always existed. But you only hear it when your dial, your frequency, matches. Until then, the signal is lost in static, but once you align, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you don't have to chase the experience. It comes through clearly. Not because you forced it, but because you finally matched it. And that alignment begins in the body. Feelings are the language of the field. Thought is the command. Emotion is the activation. You can think abundance all day, but if you feel anxiety, you are broadcasting lack. The field listens to feeling first. This is why you must go beyond affirmations into embodiment. It is not enough to say you are free. You must feel freedom in your cells. You must walk, breathe, and move as if it were already your truth. This is the great teaching hidden within Pythagoras' numbers, that everything has a tone, and tone shapes form. Not just cosmic forms, personal ones. The relationships you attract, the opportunities that flow or resist, the level of peace or turmoil within your day, all of it is vibration, all of it is music, and you are the composer. The question is no longer, will it happen? The question becomes, am I in tune with what's already trying to arrive? One of the greatest illusions you must release is that you must make everything happen, that you are the source of creation, the engine of your future. In truth, you are not the source, you are the signal. The field is the source, and when you vibrate in coherence, the field delivers what matches your tone with mathematical precision. This is what Pythagoras understood. That harmony is not passive, it is creative. The universe is always responding. The question is not whether the field is working for you, but whether you are working with it. There is no off switch to manifestation. The only variable is the quality of the frequency you transmit. Trust, then, becomes a vibration, not an emotion you visit on good days, but a tone you learn to hold even in uncertainty. Because the moment you doubt, you change the signal. You shift out of harmony and into distortion. But when you hold the vibration of trust, even without proof, even when no signs yet appear, you keep the field open. You give the quantum space to align the invisible with the visible. You are not here to force manifestation, you are here to allow it. And allowance begins with clarity, clarity of emotion, clarity of energy, clarity of expectation. The field does not respond to pressure. It responds to purity, not purity of morality, but purity of vibration. When what you think, feel, and expect are aligned, the signal becomes strong. And what is strong in the quantum becomes form in the physical. This is why you must release timelines. Deadlines vibrate with scarcity. Urgency vibrates with distrust. The field knows no time. It responds to tone, and tone is timeless. What you desire is not far. It is simply on a different frequency. Tune in, and what once seemed distant becomes immediate. But tuning requires discipline, a loving, patient discipline. You must begin to notice what lowers your tone, conversations that drain you, thoughts that diminish you, environments that scatter your energy. Not to avoid life, but to curate it. You are no longer available for what distorts your frequency. Not out of fear, but out of reverence for your creative power. You are not here to react. You are here to resonate. Let that be your mantra, because in resonance, you become the attractor. The magnetic field, the living proof that when vibration is aligned, the world responds in kind, without force, without struggle, without delay. The quantum field does not care about who you were. It listens only to who you are now. And that is the greatest power you possess. In every breath, you are free to retune. You are free to release the identity you've outgrown, to dissolve the echoes of past vibrations, to become again aligned, awakened, and absolutely present. This is not spiritual poetry, this is energetic command. Pythagoras taught that destiny is not a straight line, but a spiral. We do not move forward by force, we rise by turning inward. We ascend not through escape, but through embodiment. Every return to stillness, every breath reclaimed, every moment of coherence, these are the steps of your spiral. And as you ascend, your external life reshapes itself around your new altitude. You begin to understand that future is not something you wait for. It is something you broadcast. When your vibration becomes stable, consistent, and coherent, the field cannot help but respond. It must. That is the law, not of man, but of music, of mathematics, of consciousness. As within, so without. As above, so below. As you vibrate, so you create. And here is the final truth of this page. The version of you that you seek, the healed you, the abundant you, the awakened you, is not something you must chase. That version already exists, broadcasting its tone into the quantum, waiting for you to match it. The work is not to find it. The work is to become it. Now, breathe like that version. Walk like that version. Speak, think, and choose like that version. Not in performance, but in vibration. Let it start as imagination and grow into embodiment. Let it become so familiar in feeling that the field has no choice but to bring it into form. This is the return of the true self. This is the opening of the book, not as knowledge, but as living frequency. And now that you've felt its music, there is no turning back. You have remembered. You have awakened. And the song you now sing, silently and clearly, is the sound of destiny aligning. You are not waiting. You are vibrating. And reality is listening. With your vibration now harmonized to the field of creation, page 6 will lead you into energetic mastery, where you not only create intentionally, but sustain elevated frequencies in the midst of real-life challenges and remain a clear channel of healing in motion. Page 6. True mastery begins not when you first feel resonance, but when you learn how to hold it, in motion, in challenge, in chaos. Anyone can feel aligned in stillness, but the awakened soul learns to walk through the world without losing the song. This is energetic sovereignty, the ability to remain tuned while the outer world shifts. This was the secret of the initiates. They didn't seek peace by avoiding the storm. They became the still point within it, the eye of the hurricane. The silence that holds all sound, because they understood that power is not loud, it is not forceful, it is stable. The most powerful frequency is one that does not react. It radiates. And so you must begin to train your nervous system to hold frequency, not just feel it. When discomfort arises, breathe. When the world pulls you into reaction, pause. Let your tone lead, not your impulse. Mastery is not about never falling. It is about remembering how to return, faster, softer, wiser. Your body is the bridge. When your body relaxes into alignment, your energy flows. When your breath is smooth, your frequency stabilizes. You don't need to control your thoughts. You need to tend to your state. Thoughts follow vibration. Vibration follows presence. This is how you begin to sustain the tone you've discovered. Not by trying to stay high or avoid challenge, but by creating coherence within. Even in discomfort, you can remain aligned. Even in uncertainty, you can remain anchored. That is the mark of the healer, the mystic, the master. And as you stabilize your field, you become a point of clarity for others. Without needing to speak, your energy communicates safety, presence, truth. You become a mirror, not of their chaos, but of their potential. This is the unspoken gift of the awakened. They tune the room by tuning themselves. You do not need to fix others to help them heal. You simply need to hold your tone. Their soul will recognize it, their body will feel it, and in your stability they will remember their own. This is the legacy of the book, not to make you a seeker, but a source. Mastery is subtle. It does not announce itself with fireworks or titles. It reveals itself in the calm behind your eyes, in the pause before you speak, in the way your presence softens the air around you. It lives in how you respond when things don't go your way. Not with suppression, but with sovereignty. With the quiet knowing that nothing can shake your center unless you give it permission. Pythagorean wisdom always returned to the same point: harmony. Not peace as avoidance, but peace as balance. Not silence as denial, but silence as alignment. You are learning now to live from the middle, not in extremes, not in reactions, but in coherence. And coherence is not the absence of emotion. It is the mastery of emotion as energy. You may feel fear, but you do not become it. You may feel anger, but you do not project it. You observe, you allow, you tune. Because emotions are not enemies, they are instruments. Each one has a frequency, each one carries a message. And your task is not to silence them, but to integrate them into the larger harmony of your being. Mastery means becoming emotionally honest, but energetically clear. You do not suppress, and you do not overflow. You feel fully, and then release. You remain the conductor of your inner orchestra, not the captive of a single instrument. When sadness arises, don't deny it. Breathe with it. Let it move. When anxiety stirs, meet it with curiosity, not panic. Ask, what in me is being called into coherence? What part of me needs to be heard, not fixed? The moment you listen without resistance, the vibration begins to shift. It softens, it recalibrates. This is not bypassing. This is frequency work. You are no longer here to chase perfection. You are here to hold presence, a presence so steady that it becomes the medicine, not only for you, but for everyone you meet. In this state, you begin to notice that fewer things pull you out of alignment. Your emotional baseline rises, your field becomes clearer, and what once took effort now flows as your natural state. You don't just practice vibration, you become vibration. Not through repetition, but through remembrance. And from this place, life opens. Not because it has changed, but because your relationship to it has. You are no longer reacting to the field, you are leading it. The truest test of vibrational mastery is not found in sacred spaces or quiet mornings, but in the unpredictable rhythm of life. When the phone rings with bad news, when a stranger cuts across your peace, when a loved one speaks from their wounds instead of their heart. These are the moments the book was written for, not to protect you from life, but to prepare you to meet it differently. You are no longer here to absorb the frequencies around you. You are here to transmit yours. And this does not mean shielding yourself or avoiding the world. It means holding such a steady tone that the world begins to respond to your field instead of pulling you into its confusion. This is not arrogance, it is alignment, and alignment requires awareness. Begin to watch how your energy shifts throughout the day. Observe which spaces open your heart and which contract your breath. Notice how quickly you match the frequency of those around you, and gently bring yourself back. Not by force, by presence, by breath. By remembering that you are not here to mirror chaos, you are here to model coherence. Pythagoras would say, "Know thyself as harmony." In practice, this means taking responsibility not for what others do, but for how you choose to vibrate in response. You can walk through conflict and remain centered. You can hold boundaries without closing your heart. You can express truth without aggression, because your tone no longer needs to overpower. It simply needs to resonate, and in resonance, everything softens. You begin to see others not as threats, but as tuning forks, some clashing, some complementing, all reflecting back parts of yourself, still seeking alignment. From this view, nothing is personal. Every trigger becomes a teacher, every irritation a mirror, every encounter a moment to hold your frequency more fully. This is not about spiritual detachment, it's about spiritual depth, deep enough to stay open when it's hard, deep enough to hold space when others cannot, deep enough to remain soft without collapsing. And this depth comes not from effort, but from devotion. Devotion to your tone, your truth, your path. And slowly, life begins to organize itself around this clarity. Drama fades, serendipity increases, confusion dissolves. Not because life became easier, but because you became clearer. And clarity is the highest frequency of power. To embody vibrational mastery is to carry sacred sound in your silence. To walk into a space and shift it, not with words, but with presence. This is the quiet legacy of the healed. They do not announce their power, they radiate it. And you now are stepping into that legacy, not as a final destination, but as a frequency to live by. There will still be moments of forgetting, not because you've failed, but because you are human. But unlike before, you will return faster, return wiser, return deeper, because now you carry the tone of remembrance. The ancestral book does not end here. It continues through you, in how you choose to move, in what you refuse to carry anymore, in how you bless the world just by holding your note. You become a walking echo of the ancient harmony that shaped stars, trees, rivers, and hearts. You become proof that healing is not a miracle. It is a vibration remembered. You no longer need to seek. You no longer need to strive. You are becoming what you were searching for. This is what it means to be initiated. Not into a system or a dogma or a lineage, but into your own frequency, fully claimed, fully held, fully lived. And so the practice continues, not as something you do, but as something you are. Each breath is a tone, each word a ripple, each act a composition of consciousness. And all of it, when done in alignment, becomes part of a song much older than this world. The song of creation, the song of remembrance, the song of you. You are no longer a seeker of light. You are the tuning fork of it. Your presence harmonizes, your energy speaks, your vibration creates. And the deeper you live this truth, the more naturally healing flows through you, not as effort, but as essence. And that essence, held consistently, is the vibration that awakens others, without teaching, without fixing, without trying, just by being. As the vibration of mastery settles into your nervous system, page 7 will explore the sacred legacy of sound itself, its role in the creation of life, the healing of the body, and the remembering of truths too deep for language, but never beyond frequency. Page 7. In the beginning, there was not light, there was sound. Long before the first star ignited, before breath filled lungs, before thought had shape, there was a tone. A pure vibrational hum that pulsed through the void and gave rise to matter. It did not shout, it did not struggle, it simply resonated, and the universe became. This is not a myth, it is a memory, etched in the frequency of your bones. Pythagoras spoke of it as the music of the spheres, the harmonious vibrations emitted by the planets, the stars, the very structure of the cosmos. He knew that everything, from a grain of sand to the soul of a child, vibrates with its own note. That creation itself is a song still being sung, and so is your life. You are not separate from that music. You are not a listener of it. You are an instrument within it, a note woven into the vast harmonic field. And when your tone is clear, aligned, and true, you do more than heal yourself. You harmonize with the original sound that shaped all things. This is why sound heals. Not because of its volume or its melody, but because of its truth. Pure sound bypasses the intellect and speaks directly to the soul. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't negotiate. It simply enters and begins to retune. Your voice is sacred. Your tone is medicine. Every whisper you carry holds power, not because of what it says, but because of what it vibrates. When you speak from coherence, you shift the field. When you sing from alignment, you awaken cells. When you hum from peace, you echo the sound of the beginning. The ancients understood this deeply. They did not use sound to entertain. They used it to open portals, to move energy, to carry intention through frequency. Their chants were not rituals, they were keys, tuning mechanisms for the human soul. And now, those keys are returning. Not through temples or ceremonies, but through your body, through your breath, through your willingness to feel and release. The moment you allow sound to move through you, without performance, without fear, you remember. You vibrate again with what the cosmos has never stopped singing. You are not broken. You are music. Your body is not merely flesh and function. It is an instrument, a chamber designed for resonance. Every bone, every organ, every cell has its own frequency. And when you allow sound to move through you consciously, you activate more than voice. You activate memory. There are tones that heal tissue, frequencies that repair DNA, vibrations that realign organs and balance hormones, not by replacing medicine, but by awakening the body's original harmony. You are not simply a chemical machine. You are an electromagnetic symphony, and sound is your most ancient conductor. In the mystery schools of old, initiates were taught to chant not for praise, but for precision. They understood that intention guided vibration, and that even a single syllable, when spoken from the heart, could shift timelines. Their voices were not loud, but they were clear. They did not seek attention, they sought alignment. So must you. You do not need to be a singer. You need only to become honest, to speak with presence, to allow your sound to rise from the core, not the mask. Try this. Place your hand over your heart. Hum gently. Feel the vibration move through your skin into your bones. That is your frequency. That is your original signature, awakening. When you speak from that place, others feel it. Not just emotionally, vibrationally. They may not understand why they feel calmer or more open or strangely safe in your presence, but their cells recognize it. Their energy field senses the coherence, because your tone carries truth. And truth, when spoken with clarity and care, becomes a healing force. Let your voice become a sacred instrument again, not to impress, but to express, to free what was trapped, to give form to the invisible. Speak your fear, sing your longing, whisper your prayers, not to change the world outside you, but to retune the world within. And when you do, the outer world cannot help but shift, because vibration does not stay confined. It radiates, it ripples, and the more intentional your tone becomes, the more magnetic your field becomes. You are not only tuning yourself, you are retuning the space around you, one breath, one tone, one truth at a time. Sound does more than heal the body. It opens portals. Every tone you release carries a message not only to the cells of your own body, but across timelines, across dimensions, across the veil of forgetting. This is why certain sounds evoke tears without warning, or awaken memories you cannot explain. The soul does not think, it remembers, and vibration is its native tongue. The Pythagoreans taught that each person is born with a signature frequency, a soul chord, that connects them to the great symphony of existence. When this tone is buried under noise, distraction, or trauma, you feel lost, fragmented, dissonant. But when that tone is remembered, through silence, through sound, through inner resonance, your being reorganizes. You remember why you came. This is not metaphor, it is vibrational law. Have you ever heard a piece of music that made your entire body pause, as if time itself had knelt before the sound? That was not nostalgia. That was recognition. The music touched your core frequency, your eternal self. and for a moment you are no longer in time. You are in truth. You can learn to live from that place. You can let your days become a vibration of remembrance, your walk a rhythm, your speech a tone of peace, your silence a song of presence. And as you do, you become more than a person. You become a frequency field. Others will sense it. They will not know why, but in your presence, they will feel more whole. This is why the awakened are not loud. They do not need to explain. Their tone is the teaching. And in this way, sound becomes service. Every aligned vibration you emit becomes an offering, not only to your own evolution, but to the collective field. You raise others simply by being in tune. You clear space, not by fixing, but by holding resonance. This is vibrational leadership. This is the path of those who remember. So when you feel the pull to sing, speak, or simply hum, do it. Not for others, but for yourself, for the earth, for the frequencies within you that long to move again. Let sound become your ceremony. Let vibration become your compass. And let the ancient tones carry you back to the self that was never lost, only waiting to be reheard. At the edge of all teachings, beyond every technique and sacred symbol, you arrive at the same place: silence. But this silence is not absence. It is fullness. A stillness so alive, it vibrates. This is the womb of all sound, the frequency before form, the pulse before breath. When you enter this silence willingly, deeply, without fear, you do not find emptiness. You find yourself, the true self, the vibrational self, the one who was never broken, never lost, never separate. The one whose tone has always been woven into the fabric of existence. You do not meet this self with thought. You feel it, like a sound remembered through bone, like a note struck before language was born. This is what the ancestral book has been guiding you toward. Not knowledge, but resonance. Not ideas, but embodiment. Not seeking, but sounding. You are now not just a reader of these frequencies, you are a transmitter, a resonator of truth. The world needs your tone, not your perfection, not your performance, your resonance. Let every step you take from this moment carry the sacred hum of remembrance. Let every breath be a continuation of the ancient sound that birthed galaxies and healed souls. You do not need to understand it, only to trust it. This trust held in your cells becomes magnetism. This presence, expressed without effort, becomes healing. And this vibration, lived through your human form, becomes the echo of eternity in time. You are not merely using sound, you are sound. You are the spiral encoded in the stars. You are the number vibrating in the seed. You are the sacred chord once played at the beginning, and now again vibrating into form through you. And in this knowing, there is nothing left to seek, only to sing, only to breathe, only to be. With the full remembrance of sound as your origin and your path, page 8 will invite you into spiritual integration, bringing all the teachings into a living, embodied rhythm that can guide your everyday life with grace, power, and divine coherence. Page 8. Integration is the sacred bridge between remembering and becoming. It is where insight meets embodiment, where vibration becomes movement, and where wisdom takes root not in the mind, but in the rhythm of your life. You are no longer gathering truth. You are living it with your eyes, your hands, your heartbeat. This is where the real initiation begins, not in visions or revelations, but in the quiet choices you make each day. Do you honor your frequency or betray it? Do you move with alignment or chase approval? Do you speak from coherence or react from habit? These are not questions of morality. They are questions of vibration. Pythagoras taught that the sacred is found not only in the stars, but in structure, in rhythm, in order, in intentional movement. The sacred was in the way a room was arranged, the way a day began, the way a word was spoken. He understood that consciousness is not only expansive, it is precise. that spiritual power is not chaos dressed in light, but discipline kissed by the soul. And now you are invited to live that discipline, gently, consistently, not through rules, through resonance. Let your mornings become rituals of tuning. Let your words become instruments of intention. Let your relationships become mirrors of your evolving tone. You are not expected to be perfect, only present. Because presence is the root of all frequency. And when you begin to live this way, life stops feeling like something to manage and becomes something to orchestrate. You are no longer rushing, you are conducting, you are not reacting, you are resonating. This does not mean life becomes free of challenge. It means you meet challenge from coherence, and coherence changes everything, because from that place, that centered, tuned place, your decisions sharpen, your voice softens, your path clarifies, and your presence becomes medicine. You begin to see that integration is not a final chapter. It is a rhythm, a living relationship with your frequency, reattuned every day through breath, choice, and awareness. And each time you choose to return to resonance, even in the middle of chaos, you deepen the signal. You strengthen the field. You build a life that hums with alignment. And that hum, that steady, sacred vibration, is how the world remembers itself through you. The more you honor your vibration, the more life begins to feel like a sacred pattern, a tapestry of choices woven by tone, not time. You start to realize that every decision is not just an action, but a frequency broadcast. What you eat, what you watch, who you engage with, all of it feeds or fragments your field. This is not about fear, it's about refinement. Pythagoras spoke of purity not as denial of the world, but as attunement within it. He believed that everything we consume, food, sound, emotion, thought, either strengthens or scatters our harmony. Integration, then, is not a rigid path of sacrifice. It is an art of alignment, a way of choosing only what nourishes your true note. And the more you choose what amplifies your tone, the less you feel pulled by the noise of the world. Suddenly, you don't need to argue to be understood. You don't need to hustle to be valued. You don't need to explain your energy. Your presence speaks louder than your words. Your vibration becomes your introduction and your boundary. What does not match cannot enter. Not because you push it away, but because your field is too clear to be distorted. This is sovereignty. This is freedom. But it requires consistency, the kind of sacred consistency that says, I know who I am even when the world forgets. Not as ego, but as devotion. You show up, not because someone is watching, but because your soul is listening. You take care of your space because it reflects your inner clarity. You speak truth even when it trembles in your throat. You honor your rest because silence is a part of sound. You stop dimming, apologizing, explaining your frequency, and instead, you live it. And as this rhythm becomes your normal, you stop looking for signs. You are the sign, the synchronicity, the confirmation. Because when the inner sound is clear, life cannot help but dance to it. The right people begin to hear you, not because they were convinced, but because they were tuned. The right opportunities flow, not because you forced them, but because you matched them. You begin to live in flow, not because you abandoned discipline, but because your discipline became effortless through resonance. This is where the book becomes breath, where the teaching becomes walk, where vibration becomes life. Your environment is not neutral, it is vibrational. Every object, sound, scent, and color carries frequency. When you begin to live in tune, you no longer ignore the silent conversations happening around you. Between your nervous system and the space you inhabit, you start to curate your life like a sacred soundscape. Pythagoras was precise about this. He believed that architecture, sound, and order were forms of spiritual hygiene. His schools were temples of geometry, proportion, and silence, not for aesthetic, for alignment. Because they understood The way you shape your space is the way you shape your mind. And so you begin to ask, what in my environment resonates? What supports coherence? What distracts, distorts, depletes? This is not about minimalism. It is about vibrational integrity. Your home becomes a temple, not through grandeur, but through intention. A room filled with meaning hums differently than one filled with noise. A corner cleared of clutter becomes a gateway to clarity. A single object, placed with reverence, becomes a tuning fork for your spirit. Even your digital spaces matter. What you follow, watch, scroll, these too are frequencies. When you surround yourself with chaos, your system forgets what stillness feels like. But when you build a sanctuary of resonance, both online and off, you begin to remember. Your system exhales, your mind quiets, your soul becomes audible again. This is sacred design, not to control your reality, but to partner with it. To make your surroundings sing the same song as your soul. And then there is silence, the greatest environment of all. Silence is not the absence of sound, it is the space where your frequency becomes clear. The ancients revered silence not as emptiness, but as presence, a place to hear the subtle shifts, to recalibrate, to come home. When you sit in silence with intention, you enter the original sanctuary, the altar where your truest vibration rises again, not because you made it rise, but because you got out of the way. Let your silence be sacred. Let your space support it. Let your life reflect the inner tone you have worked so deeply to remember. Because integration is not about more doing. It is about more being. And being happens best in spaces tuned to truth. The greatest truth the book offers is this: you were never meant to chase light. You were meant to become it. Not in perfection, but in frequency. Not by doing more, but by remembering who you are beneath the noise. The one who carries the tone, the one who holds the rhythm, the one whose breath still echoes the first sound of creation. Integration is not a goal. It is a lifestyle, a quiet, steady commitment to coherence, not for applause, not for outcome, but for the simple, sacred joy of living in truth. You will still feel the tug of old patterns. You will still hear the call of dissonant voices. But now you know what your tone feels like, and once known, it cannot be forgotten. You are not who you were before this journey. You are tuned, you are present, you are resonant. Let your days become prayer, not in posture, but in pulse. Let your body be the altar. Let your walk through the world be the hymn. You are no longer separate from the sacred. You are its sound. And this is the final key. The book is not something you close. It is something you live. You are the page now, the tone, the geometry in motion. And every time you return to silence, to breath, to truth, another chapter is written through you. Your life, when lived in frequency, becomes scripture. Not the kind etched in stone, but the kind that sings through presence, heals through energy, and guides others back to themselves just by standing in stillness. This is the gift you now carry. This is the legacy you now embody. This is the tone the world has been waiting to hear again. Let it rise. Let it lead. Let it live. You have not simply listened. You have not merely learned. You have remembered. This journey was never about absorbing knowledge. It was about activating memory, a memory too ancient for language, too sacred for doctrine, a memory not stored in your mind, but vibrating in your bones, waiting to rise. From the first page, you were not being taught. You were being tuned, realigned with the geometry that underlies all existence. Reintroduced to the voice you had long silenced, your own frequency, your soul's original chord. You now carry the awareness that vibration is not an idea, it is a law. It is not something to chase, it is something to hold. You are not here to seek healing. You are here to vibrate healing. You are not here to decode the universe. You are here to become its sound. Pythagoras lives within you now, not as a name, but as a field. Not as a man, but as a mirror reflecting the truth. That numbers, shapes, frequencies, they are not just knowledge. They are you. You are the pattern. You are the proof. Let this not end as inspiration. Let it begin as integration. Breathe as one who remembers. Walk as one who radiates. Live as one who leads, not by volume, but by vibration. The world does not need more voices. It needs more tones, more souls aligned with the sacred hum of their own truth. Your greatest offering is not your words, your plans, or even your wisdom. It is your frequency. When you hold it, the world shifts, not by force, by resonance. So go now, not to teach, not to fix, not to explain. Go to be, to hum the ancient sound through your steps, to shape the invisible with your breath, to tune space with your silence. The book has been passed, the tones have been reawakened, and the music of 300,000 years now lives again through you. If this journey moved you, allow your voice to rise, not in noise, but in resonance. Share your experience, your tone, your remembrance. Let us tune this world together, one soul, one frequency, one sacred sound at a time.